Hey everyone, hope you're able to hear me loud and clear. If yes, then please let me know on chat so that I can get a confirmation. I think no one has joined as of now. Okay, I can see I'm live now. So, hey mates, my name is Ajit Pal Singh Vadhavan. I welcome you all on behalf of my channel Ajit-teaches. Today I'm going to talk about PKI, which is Public Key Infrastructure. Sometimes people get confused between public key infrastructure and public key cryptography. Public key cryptography is different. Public key cryptography is just another name of asymmetric cryptography. And public key infrastructure is different, where we assign identification to the asymmetric keys, the public keys of an individual. Let's take an example. Okay. Uh, I approaches you and say, hey mate, I'm a trainer. Study it from me. You will say, Ajit, I don't know you. How can I trust you with your credentials? I said, okay, fine. Now, just reverse the role. You approach me and say, Ajit, I want to study it from you. I will say, I will also be doubtful. Maybe you are a genuine person or genuine learner. But if I take a lot of classes with companies, let's take example, I am taking a batch with company XYZ. So students are in the class. Okay, I'm also in the class. They don't know me. I don't know them, but they trust a company XYZ. I trust a company XYZ. And that's the reason two unknown parties are doing the communication with each other. Same concept is available in PKI, public key infrastructure. I approaches you. I wanted to do a communication with you. I approaches you with my public key and says, hey mate, this is my public key. Let's do a communication. If you know me, then it's fine. If you don't know me, then you will ask me a question, Ajit. I don't know you. How can I trust you with your public key? Then I say, you don't know me. I don't know you. But this is a public key which is being issued by a party which is known to both of us. Same concept is applicable in PKI. So we have a centralized authority which we call as a CA, Certificate Authority. The Certificate Authority vouch for the identity of a person and verify the public key of a person so that two unknown parties they can trust each other with their public key and do the communication. So PKI is a trusted framework of the internet. It ensures that when you connect, sign or encrypt, you know what you are dealing with. Like for example, I open a website standardchartered.com. I'm not sure whether that website is a correct one or not, it's a genuine one or not. So that website has been issued a certificate which has public key and identification information of that website in it, which is attested or verified by certificate authority, which we all trust. So this is how I can verify that or validate that this website is genuine. So it helps you in authenticity of the website. Take an example when you go to the country out of India. So people don't know you. If someone challenges you, then you can show him what? A passport, which is with the help, and that passport is issued by who? The Indian government. So they trust Indian government, which is a kind of a CA you can see, and that's on the basis of that. they can, and that they will trust the Indian government, and henceforth they will trust the document issued by Indian government, and then they will trust you. So PKI consists of CA, which will which is the third party which will issue you a certificate. It contains RA. I will cover RA. RA is a component of a CA. It's an optional entity that you may have it or you may not have it. Like if you go to it, if in India we have a passport office in which the passport officer sits, correct? So we have a TCS. People also sit. When you submit your document, it is TCS people which will verify your document. So TCS people are your registration authority. Earlier days, there were no TCS, only the passport office employee used to verify the information. And passport was not issued to lot many people by that time. So passport officers, employees, they were able to manage everything. So same concept here. CA is a my main authority, RA registration authority. It's a optional and is an entity which will verify the initial documentation submitted by you. Okay, then you have users who wants to participate in it. Then the keys, because PKI is all based on verification of your public key. The main question arises when someone presents you with his public key and you don't know him, then how you can do the communication. So PKI verify or VKI solve that problem by giving authentication, by validating your public key. And then you have a certificate. Certificate is nothing but it is of X.509 standard, okay, which has your public key and identification information in it. It is like your passport, which has your information, plus it is digitally signed or it is signed by the passport officer. So PKI provides you confidentiality, integrity, authentication, and non-repudiation. When I say no availability, authentication, and non-repudiation, it includes CA, Certificate Authority, digital certificate. Whoever wants to participate in CA, he should have digital certificate. Remember, the digital certificate is of X.509 standard. As of now, version 3 is going on. Then it has registration authority, the entity which do the initial verifications. Then PKI has to, the certificate authority, even the entity which is needing the certificate, they have to abide by policies and procedures. So yes, you should be having PKI servers. They should have policies and procedures. Even the organization should have policies and procedures related to PKI. Lot many times what happens, the certificates got revoked because of an XYZ reason. So certificate authority keeps detail of those revocation list. Then it provides timestamping whenever the certificate is being issued. Like the passport is being issued, it is valid for some time. So same case here, the certificate is also valid for a time duration. So anyone who wants to participate in this PKI, he must have digital certificate. What is digital certificate? It is of X.509 standard. As of now, version 3 is going on. It has a participant public key and the identification information. So it is like a passport. If you want to travel, you need passport. What is the passport? Passport has identification information and your identification information address, and it is attested by or signed by passport officer. So same way here, digital certificate is of X.509 standard, which has your public key and other identification information. Tell me one thing, if you see a passport which is simply having identification information and your address and your photograph, is it of any use if it is not signed by passport officer? So same here. If a certificate, if it is not signed by trusted CA, then it is of no use. So certificate has to be digitally signed. When I say digitally signed, it means that certificate authority sign it using its private key, and authenticity of a public key is a liability of CA. So when certificate authorities sign it using its private key, when you get a certificate, you will try to verify it using the public key of CA. If you're able to verify it or decrypt it, this means that this certificate is genuine. So this is normally used in online banking and e-commerce. So who is CA? So CA is a trusted third party responsible for issuance and maintenance of a digital certificate. So when you visit a secure website, the CA certificate ensures the site legitimacy. I told you you're trying to access standardchartered.com. How can I verify that this certificate is valid? This website is genuine. Then you will go to, if you see the lock sign over there, and then if it is there said so it has a certificate which is being issued by certificate authority, and you will try to verify it using public key of that certificate authority. So certificate authority, lot my time, certificate authority also handles the revocation of it. They not only issue you a certificate, they also revoke the certificate. Lot my times the certificate gets revoked because of an XYZ reason. The certificate authority keeps a record of those revoked certificates, because revoked certificates can make the certificates vulnerable because it has some issues. That's the reason it has been revoked. So there is a certificate revocation list which is being maintained, and whenever you access any website, you also check revocation list. How you will check it, I will show that in a minute with you. Then you have a registration authority. Registration authority, as I told you, is an optional entity. Like whenever I want a certificate, I will submit my information to a certificate authority. Then RA will verify if such certificate authority has an RA. Then RA will verify my information and forward my information to CA and then CA will issue a certificate. Like as I told you, RA is an optional entity. You may have it or you may not have it. Like in India, in passport office, we have TCS. So TCS is a kind of an RA. Earlier days, when not lot many people used to get passport, then and even not passports were not issued to a lot of people. So passport office employee used to perform the RA duties. But as this number have increased, so they have hired someone. RA is like that. Suppose there is a politician. Every week he meet people of his constituencies. So not unnecessary. So he has to ensure that only legit people reaches him. So he asked his people to, he asked his subordinate to verify the people before they reaches him. Okay, so this is optional. You may have it or you may not have it. So it cannot issue a certificate. They will verify the information. Then everyone who wants to participate in PKI, you need a certificate. Certificate in simple words. Okay, certificate in simple words. It is basically it is basically of X.509 standard. It has your identification information and public key in it. And this certificate is being certified or attested by certificate authority. And how certificate authority attest your certificate? By digitally signing it. Like when you submit your information to the passport office, they will verify the information and then they will print your passport. But this passport is of no use if it is not signed by digital, if it's not signed by passport office. So same here, the PKI certificate, it has your identification information and your public key in it. Then it digitally signs your certificate. So certificate authority includes public key being certified, It includes the public key that is being certified. Okay, it includes information about the entity that owns the public key, the metadata, and digital signature. So let me show you one thing. Give me a minute. If you're able to see the screen, this is zoom.com. From here, I can see, if you see, connection is secure. Like if I'm trying to access zoom.com, it simply means, okay, so I don't know Zoom whether this is a genuine website or not, but if you see this connection is secure, it means that this is a genuine website. Okay, go here. Okay, you see this certificate, it is being issued to a certificate authority. It is being issued to zoom.com. As I told you, version 3 is being used now. This is your serial number. This serial number depends upon certificate authority. This is your algorithm. It is SHA-256 with RSA encryption. This is your issuer. The DigiCert is the issuer of it. And then it is, as I told you, every certificate needs to be timestamped. So this is your timestamp, not before, not after. So this is valid till 5th of August 2026. And you can see this is a subject public key encryption, RF encryption, and this is your public key. Public keys are publicly available. Okay, so you can see this is a public key which is RSA 2048 bit. So you can see, as I told you, certificate authority has to have a policies. So these are the policies. You can go to this URL and you can see the certificate policies. And this is CRL distribution point. As I already mentioned, sometimes what happens because of an XYZ region, I will cover that, the certificate has to be revoked. So certificate before, once you get a certificate from some entity and you retrieve the public key for once you get a certificate from some entity, then you have to validate that this certificate is valid and it is not being revoked. So this is a URL where certificate authority maintains a list of all certificates which are revoked. So you will verify that certificate is not revoked. If it is not revoked, then you can do the communication. So this is a very high level view of a certificate. Okay, it is already available in a plain view here. If you want to check of any websites, you can check it. So you can see now it includes public key being certified. Okay, information about the entity that owns the public key, zoom.com in our case, then metadata related to digital certificate and digital signature, because this certificate is of no use if it is not attested by CA. So CA is attesting this public key of zoom.com. Okay, so how it attested? It attested using its private key. Using its, when I say attested using a digital signature means encrypted using its private key, and then you can try to decrypt it using the public key of a CA. If yes, then you can verify the validity of a certificate. Then these are third party. The example that I've showcased it to you, this is an example of third party certificate. This is a certificate which is issued by trusted certificate authority after verifying the identity of a website of the organization. They act like government verified digital IDs. So for online trading, like you see, zoom.com, standardchartered.com, we need globally recognized third-party certificates. Like for example, if you're traveling in India, let's just like take an example. If you are working in a company, the company issue you an ID card. And for roaming here and there in a company, you don't need a passport. You simply need a ID issued by the company. But if you need to travel out of the country, then those IDs or even the local ID like Aadhaar won't work. You need a passport which is being recognized internationally. So same here, if you're dealing with internally, then your internal certificates can work. Internal certificate issued by your internal certificate authority can work. But if you are dealing with people who are not known to you, then definitely you need a third party certificates issued by the independent CAs like DigiCert, Global Sign, GeoTrust, and Thought. So a third party certificate is like a passport issued by the government because a trusted authority verifies your identity, everyone accepts it without your doubt. Then there is another concept called wildcard certificate. A wildcard, so like you are starting a new company and you are not aware of the internal departments which you may have. So what you can do, you can go to the certificate authority and get issued a wildcard certificate like asterisk.example.com. So you may have it will be valid for mail.example.com or shop.example.com. Then there is a term called self-signed certificate. Look, if you have to communicate internally or with your internal partners, then why should you go and get a certificate issued by some independent third party? Because these certificates are costly. So in that case, you can have your internal CA, okay, which can issue you a certificate and you can do the communication internally only by using these certificates. So no external verification. Unlike CA signed certificate, there is no third party verification. And trust is manual. It is good for internal use because we have to use a optimal use of the things. Like I just give you one example here. I don't know whether you've heard about PGP or not. PGP is pretty good privacy. Pretty good privacy is based on web of trust. Why? Because just like if the parties totally unknown to each other, then you need a certificate because certificate is what? Someone is verifying and validating and attesting your public key. But in PGP, it is based on web of trust because it is based on communication among people who are known to each other. When you are doing communication to who are known to you, then why the hell you should give money to some third party certificate CA for getting your certificate valid, verified? So similarly, if you are doing some internal communication, so you can have your internal CA, which can issue you a certificate, but it can only be used within the organization or maybe with your external partners who trust your CA. Now, this was just an introduction. Now, how to get a certificate? Like when I used to work for BT, so the certificate used to be hosted, the website used to be hosted on load balancers. So, and we need to attach these certificates to the load balancers. So whenever some certificate was about to expire, then we get this message that certificate is about to expire. Then we have to initiate the certificate signing request. It's a simple process where we generate the private key and public key. Okay, where we generate the private key and public key on the device, and then we submit the public key and the identification information to the certificate authority. So this process is called CSR, certificate signing request, and enrollment process comes under that. So when a user wants to obtain a digital certificate, I want a digital certificate, then I will generate private key and public key on the device on which I will be hosting this certificate. Then I will submit my identification information and public key to the CA. So it is a process by which user prove his identity to the CA in some manner. This is called as enrollment. Okay. So what happens in enrollment? User first prove their identity to obtain a digital certificate. It is then what you will do, you will generate the certificate and send a public key to the certificate author. The user seeking the certificate will send a public key and identification information to the CA. It is like you are seeking a passport. Okay. It is like you are seeking a passport, and then you have to submit your identification information to the passport office. Correct. Then RA there, the TCS people will verify that. So CA or RA will verify your information, and then they will print a passport. So similarly, if you see in step 3, the CA creates an X.509 standard certificate, which contains your identification information and public key. It is like passport officer has printed a passport, but it is of no use if it is not signed by a passport officer. So same way, CA has created a certificate which is of X.509 standard, but it is of no use unless and until CA digitally signs it. So CA in a fourth step digitally signs the certificate. And when I say digitally sign it using its private key and send a copy of signed digital certificates to you. So this is how enrollment works. Now, I got a certificate that this certificate is issued to me. Okay. And now me and Tuhin are doing a communication. Okay. Me and Tuhin are doing a communication. So I will pass on this certificate to Tuhin, Mr. Tuhin. So Tuhin, before he started doing a communication, because ultimately Tuhin has to retrieve my public key and do the communication. But before Tuhin retrieve my public key, first and foremost thing is he has to verify that certificate. So what he will do, first thing, he has to trust the CA. Let's take an example. You have been issued the passport, a passport by Afghanistan, no, the passport by Sudan. Don't, no offense to any country, just an example. So it's a passport issued by Sudan. But if the country doesn't support, doesn't trust Sudan, then what is the use of passport issued by that country? So first and foremost thing is the receiver has to trust the CA. Then only the other things makes sense. So Tuhin has to trust the CA like DigiCert. Then he also have to trust the data. Okay, when I say okay, CA is trusted by the system, he has to trust the data, domain name. He will verify the domain name, organization name, validated data, and then he will verify the digital signature. How will he verify the digital? Because he has to verify that this certificate has been issued by certificate authority. So CA has digitally signed the certificate. Digitally signature means sign it using a private key. So when something has been signed using the sender's private key, then you can decrypt it using its sender's public key. So in this case, Tuhin will try to decrypt the certificate or verify the certificate using DigiCert public key if he is able to verify, which means that it is a genuine one. And the last thing which Tuhin check is the certificate is not listed on CRL. CRL means certificate revocation list. So when you go for travel at the airport, they will also put your passport in a or they will check the validity of your passport, and they also check whether your passport has not been revoked or not. So sometimes what happens, the certificate has to be revoked because of an XYZ reason. Okay, it could just I give you an example, two examples here. One of my engineers was working on a Cisco ASA box. So we encountered some issue. So vendor asked us to submit the configuration. We submitted the configuration and it was having a private key in it. So yes, so private keys was compromised or was exposed. So we had to got that certificate revoked. So immediately we send an email to certificate authority to get that certificate revoked. The certificate authority has a list which we call as a CRL, okay, which will enter the serial number of that certificate into that CRL. So sometimes why you need to get the certificate revoked, the certificate is compromised, like in our case, uh, sometimes I've hacked your certificate, like private keys was stolen, hacked or exposed, like in our case it was exposed. Certificate is erroneously issued, like it has to be issued to abc.com. You have accidentally issued to xyz.com. The details get changed. The company changes, the old name was something else, like earlier they were CSC, then now the company name is DXC, or the security association change. So there are many reasons. So as soon as the certificate is revoked, the certificate authority will add the serial number of certificate in a certificate authority, in a CRL list. Now, how will you verify? Okay, how will you verify thus that the certificate name is there on a CRL or not? So there are two ways. One is a legacy way, CRL. CRL is a list published by CA containing the serial number of the revoked certificate. So it is updated periodically. So here, whenever you want to access a website, when you start the whole process, then you have to manually download the CRL. You have to manually download the CRL and check. So it takes a lot of time. Correct? Browser download the CRL file and check whether the CRL certificate is revoked or not. So this is very slow as compared to OCSP. But in this, and you have to download the whole file every time. But in today's world, we are using OCSP. OCSP is Online Certificate Status Protocol. In this, what happens? This is a protocol which browser runs, and with the help of this protocol, you don't need to download the whole CRL file. The browser will send a request through this OCSP protocol to the CRL list, and it will only check that particular serial number, and if it is valid, then yes, you can do the communication. So this is how OCSP works. So there was this question in one of my exam. It was more like this. So they were, which one is most efficient way of checking the CRL or verifying the CRL, certificate revocation list. The first option given was CRL, and the last option given was OCSP. So sometimes people in a quick hurry or in a hurry they will pick up CRL, but no, it's not CRL. It is OCSP which is most efficient. And what do you check? You check the serial number. So it enters a serial number. Sometimes they ask you a question, the certificate has been revoked. What you add in a revoked list? You add the serial number. You don't add digital signatures and nothing like that. Okay, so this is the way to check the CRL. Now, PKI process, whatever I've covered in a nutshell, it's a summarized view of it. Like user A and user B wants to participate in a PKI process. Okay, then user A will generate public key and private key at their system. Then user A sends public key and identification information to CA. Like I am looking for CA, I'm looking for a certificate. So I will send my public key and identification information to CA. So RA or CA will verify that if you have RA, then RA will verify the information. And if you have CA, then CA will verify the information, your identification information, and your public key. It's like passport officer will verify, passport officer or its subordinate will verify the information submitted by you. Then after verification, passport officer or will print your passport. Or here, CA will generate an X.509 certificate. What it has your identification information and public key in it. It is like passport officer has print your passport with identification information and your address and photograph. But this passport is of no use. This certificate is of no use. So CA will go ahead and digitally sign the certificate. So CA will digitally sign the certificate using its private key. And now this certificate will be issued to user A, and user A will give it to user B. What user B will do, user B will verify the certificate is not in a revocation list. User B will verify the certificate by decrypting it using public key of a CA. It will verify, it has to trust the CA, and then B will retrieve the public key, and then A and B can do the communication. So this is how the PKI process works. So in nutshell, you get a certificate. In nutshell, if I talk about, this is the framework which allows two unknown parties to communicate using two unknown parties to communicate using their public keys. They assign or they verify the public key, okay, and attest the public key so that two unknown parties who are not known to each other can do the communication. Like when I'm accessing standardchartered.com, accessbank.com, you totally are unknown people. You don't know that accessbank.com, but yes, you can trust it on the basis of certificate issued by certificate authority. So this PKI process works like this. So this is your PKI. Now with this PKI process, which I've explained to you, you can, it's in CISA, you can use it in CISA, you can use it in CISM, CCSP, and CISSP. Any information security exam you will take, you will not go more than that. So this is all about your PKI from my side. So thank you very much, mate. We'll come up with another session very soon on it. Thanks for joining it. Thank you.